I thought it was over. After the viral video, the HOA smackdown, and Melissa's humiliating exit from Timber Falls, life settled into something almost resembling peace. My mornings were quiet again. Just me, the hummingbirds, and my coffee. No more fines, no more passive-aggressive letters, no more leopard print drive-bys. But peace in Timber Falls. It never lasts long. Not when Melissa Crane still had Wi-Fi and a grudge. She may have left the neighborhood, but she hadn't let go. Turns out, Melissa was still a moderator of the TFNC's private Facebook group. Yes, the same one she once used to post friendly reminders that somehow always felt like subpoenas. And she was using it to launch a shadow campaign. It started subtly. A few cryptic posts from concerned citizens of Timber Falls. Warnings about unregulated energy experiments, magnetically unstable dwellings, and something about a radiation bloom near Lot 17, which, surprise, is me. At first, people ignored it. Then came the flyers. Slid under doors. Taped to mailboxes. One neighbor found one folded inside a box of Girl Scout cookies. The flyer had my house circled on a Google Maps screenshot, complete with a pixelated Tesla and the words, "This home is compromised." You'd think the neighborhood would laugh it off. And most of them did. But there's always that one guy. In our case, it was George. George is 70-something, wears socks with sandals, and still thinks microwaves are a government tracking device. He marched over to my house with a lawn chair and a Geiger counter he bought off eBay. Sat in my yard for 3 hours. Eventually, he stood up, gave a solemn nod, and said, "The energy is conflicted." Thanks, George. That same week, the TFNC's interim vice president, Joel, a well-meaning guy who once called my wiring setup nerd sorcery, knocked on my door. Apparently, Melissa had filed a remote complaint accusing me of creating an electromagnetic destabilization zone. She included diagrams she drew by hand, complete with lightning bolts, chakras, and something labeled neuroclash. Joel looked exhausted. "She also sent a jar of salt with instructions to bury it near your circuit box," he said. "We're not enforcing any of this. Just giving you a heads up." I appreciated the warning. And the salt. It ended up in my next batch of chili. Then came the podcast. I'm not making this up. Melissa had started a weekly podcast titled Grid of Deception. It featured poorly edited interviews, dramatic music, and frequent rants about how the suburban surveillance state was real and being powered by solar occultists. Episode 3 was titled The Man Who Fried My Tesla and My Trust. I only know this because my neighbor Barry, the donut guy, subscribed just for laughs and sent me timestamps. I listened to one episode. Halfway through, Melissa claimed that my smart outlet opened a portal to an alternate electrical dimension where civility goes to die. It was almost flattering. But what really pushed things over the edge was her final gambit. See, Melissa had filed paperwork to create a new HOA from across the state. She called it the Timber Falls Preservation League, TFPL for short. And it wasn't technically an HOA. It was a nonprofit community standards collective, which meant she could send ethics letters without needing board approval. And send them. She did. One neighbor got a warning about a garden gnome emitting hostile energy. Another was told their holiday wreath violated the symbolic neutrality clause. I received a 7-page dossier accusing my mailbox of projecting digital dominance. By now, people were done. Done with her antics. Done with the flyers. Done with the drama. That's when the neighborhood turned again. Joel called an emergency meeting. The clubhouse was packed. Everyone from retirees to tech dads to the kid who rollerblades in the cul-de-sac wearing a cape. I brought the salt jar. For effect. Joel stood up and read every letter Melissa had sent through her fake nonprofit. Then he played clips from her podcast. Someone in the back shouted, "Is she serious?" Someone else muttered, "She needs a hobby that isn't harassment." Then Joel dropped the mic. "We've submitted her organization for state review." Turns out, using nonprofit status to harass homeowners with false claims and fake ordinances is a violation of multiple state laws. And the room erupted. We voted, unanimously, to blacklist Melissa Crane and the TFPL from all community platforms, newsletters, and communications. We even held a little digital cleanse where people unfollowed the Facebook group she ran. It was like a suburban exorcism. And me? I handed out laminated charging passwords to the new families on the block. Set up a community tech board to help others protect their utilities. started getting invites to neighborhood BBQs. Someone even made bumper stickers that said, "Powered by politeness. Protected by petty." I still have mine. As for Melissa, the last anyone heard, she moved to a condo outside Palm Desert and started complaining about the pool pH levels. I can only imagine what her new neighbors are in for. But here in Timber Falls, we finally reclaimed our peace. And this time, it's password protected. You'd think after the podcast was buried, her nonprofit was dissolved, and she got digitally excommunicated by the entire neighborhood, Melissa Crane would finally call it quits. But Melissa Crane doesn't quit. She relocates. Turns out she moved into a new gated community called Whisper Pines, a retirement meets wellness village about an hour south, where people meditate more than they mow their lawns. And you better believe she wasted no time installing herself in the middle of everything. This time, she didn't call herself vice president. Oh no, she leveled up. She was now community wellness liaison of Whisper Pines, self-appointed, naturally. Her job? To ensure harmonious living through electromagnetic accountability, which, in Melissa speak, meant patrolling driveways for any hint of smart tech and passive-aggressively shaming people for using Wi-Fi routers with unfiltered chakra frequencies. I wouldn't have known any of this if not for the email. It showed up in my inbox one Tuesday morning. No subject line, just a link. A Reddit thread, Whisper Pines edition. The headline read, "Y'all, this lady thinks our electric toothbrushes are soul disruptors. Help." Underneath was a grainy video of Melissa arguing with a man wearing pajama pants and Crocs over his Roomba. The top comment was, "Wait, isn't this the Tesla demon lady?" Yeah, she was back. And somehow, I was still part of the story. Because a few days later, I started getting strange notifications. Someone was trying to access the Power to the Polite portal on my smart home network. Repeatedly. Using an IP address located exactly where Whisper Pines is. Melissa was trying to hack my system. I don't know what she thought she'd find. An electrical grudge file? Tesla revenge blueprints? Maybe she hoped my password was Outlet 123. So I did what I do best. I built something. I called it the feedback loop, a harmless applet that, when triggered by unauthorized access attempts, would redirect the hacker's device to a custom landing page. A page that looked like a legit server console, but slowly morphed into a grainy image of Melissa's own sprinkler-shocked face, looping endlessly while high voltage by AC/DC played in the background. And yes, I logged the access attempt. Twice. The second time, she stayed on the page for 8 full minutes. Melissa had officially become her own ghost story. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. People like her don't fade quietly. They regroup, rebrand, and try again. And sure enough, 6 weeks later, the Timber Falls community newsletter ran a tiny announcement. The TFNC has received a request from an outside party to host a seminar on clean energy awareness and wireless frequency safety. It has been denied. No name, no details. But I knew. She was trying to come back. Maybe it was a power play. Maybe she wanted closure. Or maybe, deep down, Melissa just couldn't stand the idea that her old nemesis was now the neighborhood's unofficial tech hero. So I made a decision. If she was going to circle back into our lives, I wasn't going to wait around this time. I sent out a block-wide invite for a Power to the Polite community showcase. Think Tech Fair meets block party. I set up a big projector, some lawn chairs, free snacks, and gave a demo of the latest upgrade, a neighborhood energy sharing station with facial recognition and built-in logging. Nothing could be accessed without consent or a polite voice prompt. Barry brought donuts. Joel brought lemonade. Even George showed up with his Geiger counter again, just in case. Midway through the event, my phone pinged. Motion detected. Front gate. A black rental sedan rolled past the entrance sign. Windows tinted. Slow crawl. And just for a second, I saw her. Melissa. In sunglasses the size of dinner plates. Holding a clipboard. She didn't stop. Just stared. Then kept driving. I turned back to the group, raised my cup of sweet tea, and said, "Well, folks, if that wasn't a victory lap, I don't know what is." Everyone laughed. George gave a solemn nod. "The energy is stable," he declared. And that was that. She never returned. No flyers. No emails. No TikToks about rogue frequency fields. The community moved on. Whisper Pines reportedly banned any resident from creating self-appointed roles after an incident involving crystal audits and unauthorized EMF scans. As for me, my smart grid's better than ever. The power to the polite system is expanding. I've even started working on a community tech handbook, part tutorial, part cautionary tale, all wrapped up in one very simple philosophy. Don't mess with the guy who wires for fun. People still ask me if I ever heard from her again, and I tell them the truth. Nope. But if her next neighborhood has sprinklers, I hope they're ready. You'd think a woman who fled Timber Falls in shame, got rejected by Whisper Pines, and ended up blocked by the HOA she tried to create would finally take the cosmic hint. But not Melissa Crane. See, when you've been publicly roasted by a neighborhood, outsmarted by a retired engineer, and turned into a viral meme called Sprinklegate, you have two options: move on or double down. Melissa went nuclear. It started with an email blast, sent from an address called freethegrid@protonmail.com. Subject line: what they don't want you to know about suburban power sabotage. The body of the email read like a manifesto crossed with a Yelp review. You may think your outlet is private, but what if I told you your smart home is watching you? That your coffee maker is transmitting bioenergy patterns? That your EV charger isn't just charging, it's listening? Attached, a 43-page PDF titled The Electromagnetic Matrix, A Guide to Neighborhood Energy Warfare. I read it with popcorn. She named me 10 times, but never used my actual name. I was referred to only as the engineer. Apparently, I had created a techno-fascist microgrid and was spiritually oppressing my neighbors with vibration distortion. One paragraph accused me of manipulating local flora through magnetized irrigation. My hydrangeas looked great, for the record. She also claimed Tesla had flagged her because corporate allies of the engineer pressured them into it. That's when it hit me. Melissa didn't want revenge anymore. She wanted an audience. And she was building one. The very next week, she launched a YouTube channel. Grid Truth Unplugged. Catchphrase: not all currents are legal. The first video? A dramatic slideshow featuring spooky music, poorly photoshopped images of smart meters with devil horns, and voiceover narration from Melissa herself, breathless, furious, and somehow still holding a grudge that could short out a breaker. My favorite quote: if you think your toaster's just making bread, think again. The comments section was pure gold. Ma'am, are you okay? I love this ARG plotline. Can we get merch? This lady needs a Faraday cage and a nap. But the wild part? People were watching. Conspiracy theorists, HOA haters, fringe tech forums. Even a subreddit called r/outlet wars picked it up. One video, titled The EV Inquisition, How Charging Cables Became Chains, got over 200K views. I started getting emails. People asking if I was the engineer. Some just said, respect. One guy offered to send me custom outlet covers with my logo on them. I don't even have a logo. Then came the podcast invitations. A show called Civically Unhinged asked me to appear on an episode called HOA Horror Stories, The Leopard Robe Wars. I passed, but it made me realize something. This whole ridiculous saga had left the cul-de-sac. It was global now, which meant Melissa had achieved the one thing she always wanted: influence. Not respect, not authority, but attention. And attention is a power grid of its own. So I did the unthinkable. I joined her live stream. No burner account. No anonymous trolling. Just a username. JackW_ from lot 17. The chat went wild. OMG, it's him. Engineer. Engineer. Bro, turn her camera off with your mind. Melissa, mid-rant about 5G routers causing emotional instability, saw my name and froze. She narrowed her eyes and said, "We're being infiltrated." And then she muted herself and ended the stream. No goodbye, no outro, just blackout. 15 minutes later, the video was deleted. The next day, her entire channel vanished. Reddit noticed. Twitter noticed. The Daily Techno blog wrote a headline: Engineer 1, Melissa 0, Suburban Energy Saga ends in digital vanish. But me? I didn't feel triumphant. I felt weirdly nostalgic. Like the boss level had ended. The final cut scene had played. The credits were rolling. And sure, I still had my solar panels, my password-protected charging station, and a surprisingly robust following on a smart home subreddit. But Timber Falls felt calm. Maybe too calm. Until one morning, I stepped outside to find something taped to my mailbox. A single sheet of paper. Typed. No return address. You may have the grid, but the currents still flow. I sighed, looked toward the horizon, sipped my coffee, then went inside and ordered 2 new security cameras, just in case.